Alright, hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Casey, and today's reading is all about what should your New Year's resolution be. So if you've been wanting to make a change in your life, or maybe you're just somebody who's interested in New Year's resolutions, this reading is going to show you what kinds of bad habits is it time to leave in the past, and what good habits should you maybe bring into your future. So this could look like anything from starting a yoga practice, or I don't know, quitting smoking, honestly anything, any kind of good or bad habits we're going to be looking at here. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, I have 3 different readings for you to choose from. We have pile 1 with the blue lace agate, pile 2 with the tiger's eye, and pile 3 with the carnelian. And just keep in mind that, these are just very subjective. You don't have to do any of these things. It's just, good ideas to think about as you go into the new year. If you've been having certain things that you've been wanting to quit or not been wanting to do anymore, it could be time to get rid of those. Or if there's other things you've been wanting to invite into your life, like maybe doing art more, or I don't know, running more. Those things might come up, but keep in mind, these are just suggestions. It's not something that you have to do. But with that said, go ahead and pause, figure out which reading you feel most drawn to. I'll leave timestamps down in the description box below so you can quickly jump to whichever reading that you want to listen to. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, pile 1, if you chose the blue lace agate, then this is the reading for you. And your reading, I feel like, is all kind of saying the same thing. I feel like you're somebody who you repress a lot of your desires, and you feel a lot of personal judgment. Personal judgment to me is like when you're constantly worrying about what other people are thinking, and so you put those judgments onto yourself and stop yourself from going after certain things because maybe people won't understand it, maybe they won't like it, or what if they reject me. I feel like you're somebody who has a very low self-esteem, and that affects how you think things will turn out. Instead of having confidence about, it'll work out if I try it, it's like, I shouldn't try it because I know it's gonna fail. And I want to stop you right there because you can't predict the future. Even me as a tarot reader, I can give you the best possible snapshot of the way that things might turn out, but I can't predict the future. Maybe other people can, but the thing is, we get in our heads a lot, and our fears hold us back because they think it's the best way to protect us. We think, if I put myself down, if I tell myself I'm not worthy, or I'm ugly, or I can't go after this thing, in a way I'm protecting myself from rejection and failure and how painful and scary that might be. But on the other side of that, I'm also holding myself back from doing all the things that I love and possibly having experiences that I've always wanted to have. And I feel like with you hold yourself back from so much. And I think especially romantic love and putting yourself out there, wearing your heart on your sleeve. I feel like you've held yourself back from a lot of things that honestly you shouldn't have, because they could have worked out beautifully, but it's that judgment you put on yourself, and yourself telling yourself how it's going to turn out. As humans, we don't know how things are going to turn out. It's most likely your fears in your head, and also there's no such thing as you can't do something. I used this example in a reading a few weeks ago about how if I wanted to, right now, I could get up, I could walk out my door, and I could start breaking into my neighbor's house and just stealing all their stuff, because I have free will. But I don't want to do that because I don't want to take the consequences of being arrested and having that on my record and going to jail and dealing with all that. But I absolutely could do that because I have free will, just like you have free will. You could tell the person on your mind that you are into them. You could. There's nothing holding you back from doing that except your own fears. You could pursue whatever passion that you have, career-wise or hobby-wise, but a part of yourself is it's unrealistic. I can't do that. Yes, you can. You can do whatever you want in this life. So I bring all that up because your cards are showing me very clearly that the bad habits that you need to break and the good habits that you need to bring in are all surrounded by these feelings. These feelings influence a lot of that. And so now I'm going to get in detail, and what I have here is a bad habit that should be broken, a change that should be made, and a good habit that should be brought in. And like I said, it's basically all encompassing everything that I just explained to you. So the bad habit that you should break, you have protection and the Queen of Pentacles reversed. With protection, I feel like you are the kind of person to put up a wall around yourself, and it's very hard to let people in. And I feel like it's because of what I said, that that lack of self-confidence and feeling like, what if people are let in? Like, what if I open myself up and be vulnerable and then they hate it? What if they think I'm ugly? Or what if they push me away? Or what if it doesn't work out? It's like, why go through the trouble of becoming vulnerable if it's not going to work out? And so you just don't let anybody close. And because of that, I think you don't see the Queen of Pentacles is a beautiful queen in the deck. I feel like often she might compare herself to the Queen of Wands, who's passionate and fiery, and people are attracted to that. Or the Queen of Cups, who's soft and gentle and emotional. And then you see the Queen of Pentacles, and it's like, oh, she's all hard and earthy, like nobody likes her. No. She's a beautiful queen. She's surrounded by abundance and nature and animals that flock to her because she gives off the best vibe. And like, I feel like you compare yourself to others without ever really seeing what's good about you. There's this podcast that I listen to by this guy, Leo Skeppy. I always reference him on here, but he did this episode about like self-comparison to others. And an example that really stuck with me was, when you see a group of models, you don't say one is a 10 out of 10 and the others are all ones. No, you say, oh my god, those are all 10 out of 10s. Like, one person being a 10 doesn't make other people ones. And for you, it's like you compare yourself to other quote-unquote prettier people and you're like, they're so pretty, I could never be like that. And it's like, no, everybody's different. You can't compare the Queen of Cups to the Queen of Wands or the Queen of Pentacles to either of those. And so you've been viewing yourself as this reversed queen for so long, you don't realize just how much you have to offer, just how beautiful you are. You don't realize just how much somebody might want you because you put up this wall around yourself and tell yourself this story. And it's time to stop telling yourself that story of I'm unwanted, I'm ugly, all these things, because they're not true. And they're coming from one perspective of somebody who thinks down about themselves, somebody who's lacking self-empowerment. So why would you believe that when you could say, okay, let's see what happens if I open up to somebody else? Why don't I let them form their own opinion instead of believing that everybody holds my opinion? Because beauty is subjective. Like, me and somebody else could look at the same painting and they might be like, oh my god, that's the ugliest thing in the world. And I see it and I'm like, this is a masterpiece. I need this. Like, I will beat the highest bidder to get this thing. Just like beauty is subjective. Like Timothée Chalamet. A lot of people think that that guy is super attractive, and I think that he looks like a starved Victorian child. Like, so if maybe in the past people have told you that you're not attractive or that you're ugly, those things can really stick with us. But you have to remember, their opinion was not the opinion of everybody in the world. It's just one person. Just like how people view art. Or, like I said, Timothée Chalamet. So, the bad habit that you need to break is, first of all, putting up walls and not letting anybody in. And also the way that you view yourself and the story that you tell yourself about what people think of you. Because it's only just one story. There's billions of people on Earth. I guarantee you, there's a good chunk of those people that would think you are the most beautiful person they ever set their eyes on. Like, trust. Like, statistically, it's gotta be true. So don't tell yourself that every person that you encounter thinks that you're ugly or doesn't like you. And then with the change that you need to make, I feel like this is also along those same lines, especially when it comes to romantic love. I feel like you're somebody that if you have a crush on somebody, instead of being the kind of person to be like excited about it and like want to get to know them and want to get closer to them and like maybe eventually reveal your feelings for them, you shut yourself down and you say, in fact, like just the idea of having a crush makes you feel sick. Like, instead of allowing yourself to be happy about it and wanting to explore all that, all you can think of is they would never like me. Dude, you have no idea how somebody could feel. You're telling yourself these stories as if you're God, as if you know everything. You're not. With the mystery card, let there be mystery about what might happen, about how they might feel about you. Let yourself indulge in the fact, and what if they do like me? Instead of just shutting it down and say, that's impossible. It is not impossible. And with the Knight of Cups, this knight is all about, he's the guy that wears his heart on his sleeve. He's the guy that comes forward and, he's the guy that reveals his love. He's the guy that's open about it. The thing about this is not everybody is going to like you, but there are also people that will. And if you tell yourself everybody will never like you, everybody's not interested, you're never going to be open to the possibility of those people that do. You're never going to be open to the possibility of a relationship or love because you shut down all possibility. Yes, it sucks and it's scary when you make yourself vulnerable and you get rejected. It's like one of the worst feelings in the world. But you can't tell yourself that that's all that life is going to be, because it's going to make it impossible for you to find the one for you. Don't you want to? I can tell that you're the kind of person that wants love. Maybe you watch a lot of romance movies and you just wish, like, oh, I wish I could find that. I wish I could have that. You can. But it does require you to be vulnerable. And that is scary, but I say start with yourself. Start with your own perspective. Start working on that. And also work on the perspective of learning how to take rejection. There's this thing called rejection therapy, which I'm not saying you have to do that, but I just find it interesting and it's coming to mind, where I remember seeing it on TikTok where people would just go out and ask people, like random strangers on the street, for example, like, arm wrestle me. A lot of people are going to say no, and like learning to take that no makes it a lot easier for you to take rejections in the future. But also the interesting thing about that is you'd be surprised at how many people were like, okay, yeah, I'll arm wrestle you, a complete stranger. And I think that that's just a beautiful example of, in your mind, you might tell yourself, nobody is going to want to arm wrestle me. And it's like, actually, all you have to do is ask, and there's going to be a good majority that will, you know? And I think that's kind of a random example, but the mystery card to me is really saying, you don't know how people are going to react. You don't know everything. Allow yourself to indulge in the fact that there are good possibilities, not just bad ones. And learn to be a little bit more vulnerable. Learn to, inch a little bit closer to people when you do have that inevitable crush or when you do have feelings for somebody, instead of just shutting it down right away and feeling bad about it. And finally, with good habits that you need to invite in, it's basically the same. You have passion and lovers. It's time to allow yourself to pursue the things that you're passionate about. Not just romantic love, though that is certainly something I would say here, because you have the lovers card. But it also makes me think in other aspects of life, like maybe you really love writing and you've always wanted to have a job where you could be a writer. Or maybe you're into painting and you've always wanted to put your artwork in a gallery, like ask them if they would put it in their gallery. I don't know how that stuff works, but instead of shutting those things down, let 2024 be the year of putting yourself out there. Because you already know the worst outcome. The worst outcome is no, which technically you're already living because you haven't asked yet. You already know the answer is no. But there is a good possibility that they could say yes. There is a good possibility that you could live your dream life, that you could find that relationship, that you could have your artwork be seen by others and possibly end up having a career in that. But you're just living in this no already. As long as you ask, the best thing that could happen is they say yes. The best thing that could happen is you get what you want. And I see that deep down you are a very passionate person. You have so many different desires that you want to be explored. So many different things that you want to do in life. But you have so many little voices inside of yourself shutting all of those down. So let this be the year where you start to be a little bit more vulnerable. You start to open up a little bit. You start to, instead of like shutting your eyes when you see something you want, let yourself look at it. Let yourself get a little closer. Maybe even ask if you can have it. So pile one, that is what I see for you. I truly, truly encourage you to try all these things out. I feel like you could live a much happier life if you were to come out of your shell a little bit. But I hope that this reading found you when you need it the most, and I hope that you have a great 2024. So, pile one, that is everything that I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. Alright, pile two. If you chose the Tiger's Eye, yeah, I almost forgot the name for some reason, then this is the reading for you. And the way that we're doing this is we're looking at what bad habits is it time to leave in the past, what change should be made in your life, and what good habits is it time to invite in. And for you, I'm feeling like they're all kind of on the same wavelength, and honestly, it kind of seems a bit similar to pile one, so if you feel really drawn to pile one, I also encourage you to check that one out, though this one is slightly different. So for this one, I'm seeing that you're very influenced by judgments, especially judgments by other people, or like wondering what they'll think of your choices, and also on yourself. I feel like you're somebody who is constantly brimming with ideas. You're a very creative person, but you hold yourself back a lot. You hold yourself back from taking action. So a thought that's coming to mind is somebody who, and this doesn't necessarily need to be you, it's just an example, but I'm thinking of somebody who sits in their room and they make art all day. It's what they're really passionate about. And somebody tells them, like, dude, this is really good. You should put it out there. You should, put it on the internet, or go ask if you could put it in a gallery. I don't really know how it works, but... And then there's a part of you that's like, no, I could never do that. I would never succeed at that. And so you're still making all this art. You still love it, but your fears hold you back from sharing it with others, from pursuing something that you might really love to do. And so with the bad habits that it's time for you to break, you have the energy card and the King of Wands reversed. And the energy card is what makes me believe, like, you've got all this energy just under the surface that wants to be released. You have all this potential that wants to be explored. But when you look at the King of Wands, he's like almost rising out of his seat, like he wants to get up and go. But with it reversed for you, it's like you have all this energy and then you're just stopping yourself. It's like it wants to go. You have all this potential that wants to move and be pursued and put out there, and it's like you kind of want to get up and get out of your chair and do it, but something stops you and you don't get up. You just stay stuck in place. And it's like you got all this stagnant energy inside that wants to be explored, that wants to be put out there, but something is holding you back. And that's what I think is like judgment from others, or what will people think, or what if I fail? And it's like you need to let go of those voices in your head. You need to let go of what will people think, because it holds you back from doing what you truly love. And it's slowly gonna poison you from the inside. I don't mean literally, but it's like with this energy card, energy wants to move. It wants to be put out there. Creativity wants to be expressed. And if you just leave it inside, it doesn't feel very good. It wants to come out. And it's like, it wants to be created through you. There's something that I believe that we are not given desires just to have them dangled in front of us like a carrot on a stick. We are given desires because they want to be created through us. You have a very unique talent and gift, and whichever way that you do it, whichever way that you express it, it wants to be put out there more. It doesn't just want to be like stuck inside of you. It wants to be something that is expressed and created. And that's why you are given that desire, is to express it, to create it, not just to leave it stuck inside you and hold yourself back from doing stuff. And I know how scary it can be. I know how scary judgment can feel. I mean, for a long time I didn't want to make these videos because what if somebody finds it, God forbid, or what if what will my family think? But you have to let yourself do what your heart desires. If you don't, I mean, what's the point to living if you can't pursue what you love, And so the change that you have to make, we have here cleanse and the Ten of Pentacles reversed. The Ten of Pentacles to me is a card that's like, it's supposed to be abundance, it's supposed to be like family and like being surrounded by things that you love and like surrounded by good stuff. But with it reversed, I feel like you've got a little bit too much of familial presence affecting your life. And what I mean by that is, it's great to have family and friends around, but if you feel like they're encroaching on your decision making or encroaching on what you decide to do with your life, or for example expressing yourself, it might be time to take some space from that. Like, it almost looks claustrophobic to me, and this card is supposed to be a very positive card. Like, it's never felt claustrophobic to me, but you see all these people gathered together and the dogs are there and the roof is a little too low and there's pentacles all over the place. How is anybody supposed to perform or make decisions when you constantly feel suffocated by all these different things, all these different voices, all these different opinions? And so the cleanse card is telling me, I don't know if you're somebody that lives with other people, or you still live with your parents or a lot of siblings. It might be best if you can find a way to, even if you can't afford your own place, find ways that you can take time to yourself throughout the day. Or if you've got a ton of responsibilities or you're constantly surrounded by people, find ways that you could have time to yourself, time in solitude where you can have quiet and not constantly be surrounded by all this noise or all these people's opinions. Or maybe it could be a sign that you need to create boundaries with, your parents, for instance. Like, you love them, you love when you can talk to them, but if they're constantly giving their opinion, they might need to be reminded that this is not their life, it's your life. And you care about them, you care about what they think, but you cannot let their opinion dictate what you do. And if you feel really stifled by them, if you feel stifled by other people, or like they are judging you too much or dictating what you do with your life, it's time to cleanse some of that in whatever way that needs to take form. If it's getting your own place, or if it's creating boundaries with people, or finding time that you can take to yourself to kind of let go of all this, I think that's a big change that would need to be made, because I feel like it's that kind of judgment and other people's opinions that really affect you not pursuing what you love. And I see that even more clearly with what good habits you should invite in, because you have creativity and hunger, and then the Four of Pentacles reversed in the King of Swords. And I will say, I did not try to get 4 cards to come out. I only do 2, but these came out in pairs, so I feel like they've got a lot to say about this. So the good habits that you should bring into your life are basically along the same lines here. You have creativity and hunger, which to me are showing the same as energy. You are such a naturally creative person. You're so creatively driven. I feel like you've got a lot of great ideas just brimming under the surface about things that you're really passionate about. And with hunger, it's like a part of you just wants to pursue it. And so with this good habit, I feel like the habit should be letting yourself pursue it. When you have these things that you desire to do or desire to create, let yourself create them. Instead of just like sitting back down like the King of Wands, where he's like about to get up and he's like, no. And then he just sits back down. Like, no, get up, let yourself go after it. And with the Four of Pentacles reversed, the Four of Pentacles, you see this guy that's holding on to these pentacles so tight. He's holding on to them so tight that each foot is holding a pentacle, his arms are holding a pentacle, and he's holding one on his head. How are you supposed to perform if you're constantly holding on to these things? Or in my mind, it's like holding on to baggage, holding on to judgment, holding on to like a literal anchor that's weighing you down. It's time to let go of that. That's what this card reversed tells me. And especially with it being connected to the Ten of Pentacles, like I told you, there's too many pentacles around. There's too many voices, too many opinions. It's time to let go of them. Let your arms and legs and mind be free so that you can move freely without being weighed down. In the King of Swords, this king is all about action. Swords is all about action, speaking your mind, having a clear vision of what you want to do and how to move forward. He is the king that actively pursues what he wants. And so if I was to put all of these cards together, it tells me a very clear story that it's time to leave behind other people's opinions that hold you back. It's time to start living for yourself, and when you have ideas of things that you want to pursue, when you have that creative flow, allow yourself to be in it and create and pursue what you truly love. It's time to let go of other people's opinions, because all they're going to do is hold you back, and you're supposed to be living for yourself, not for other people. So I'm sorry that was like, it all just flowed out of me so fast, but I feel like it's also kind of connected to how like you have all this energy brewing under the surface that just wants to be let out. I feel like you have such a natural talent for creativity, and whatever it is that you love to do, it's something that you are meant to do. And the worst crime that you could let happen is have other people stop you from doing it. Like I said, I mean, what's the point of living if we can't pursue the things that we love? Maybe I said that in pile 1, but it applies to you too. So I'll leave you with that. I'm not going to keep speaking about the same things over and over again. I almost started the tirade again, but I think you get the picture. So pile 2, that is everything that I have for you. I actually think it's really interesting, that you got the tiger's eye, because that is all about confidence and, like, strength, and I feel like that is the biggest thing that you need to employ in your life. So, I don't usually carry around crystals. I don't even know how much I really believe in them. More, I use them for, like, the symbolism. But if you're somebody who believes in them, maybe you should get yourself, like, a little tiger's eye necklace, or start carrying around tiger's eye with yourself. Let it be a reminder of it's time to invite strength and confidence in your life and make decisions on what you want to do, not what other people believe you should do. So pile 2, that is everything that I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. Okay, pile 3. If you chose the carnelian, then this is the reading for you. For yours, I feel like it has a lot to do with the internal monologue that you tell yourself. And Just to explain what I'm doing here, the way that we're doing this is I'm looking at what bad habits should you leave in the past, what change should you make in your life, and what good habits should you invite into your life in the future. And what I mean by like your inner monologue, or like what's going on in your head, the bad habit that you need to leave in the past is all about your mindset. And like, I feel like you've got I don't even know if this is a phrase or a term, but like a doom mindset. Like you've got a sense of impending doom, or just a big sense of anxiety. Yesterday I did a reading for a friend of mine, and one of the questions that she asked was like, I've been dealing with just a sense of anxiety, just general in life, like not really about any specific thing. Like, and then the question I came up for her was like, what guidance do you need about these feelings that you're having? And a lot of it had to do with like, when you've got too much on your plate and too much on your mind and you're not quite sure about the future, or a change needs to be made and none of this is being addressed, it can kind of manifest in our life as like feeling just this constant sense of dread or anxiety at every turn. And the best thing that you could do, like the advice that I saw on the cards for her was, talk to people that you trust about it. Like have long conversations about it, even if it's just to yourself or just in your journal. Just kind of like ironing out the wrinkles can help smooth things out and really get you a clear vision on what you need to do. Because if everything's all jumbled all over the place, of course you can't think clearly. And for you have consciousness and the Tower reversed. And the Tower it's not the best card, but reversed, I always think of it as like a breakdown that's like almost on the cusp of happening. It's like you're constantly on the edge of a breakdown, but you don't have the relief of like the breakdown, like the actual moment after the fact where it's like, okay, it happened, now let's move on. It's like you're constantly right on the edge of like falling apart. And that is no way to live. And with consciousness, it makes me think that this is something that is really just in your head for the majority of the time. And so the best thing that you could do for yourself, I feel like, is find a way to get what's in your head out of your head, whatever that looks like for you. Some ways that I've heard that people can like release this and get it out of them is like get it onto a piece of paper. Write a letter about like all of the things that feel off to you, or all the things that feel like they're causing this mental breakdown, or all these things that are bothering you or like you can't get out of your head. Write it down, because it's kind of like a transference of it out of your head into the material realm, and then just like burn it. That is the best kind of, I wouldn't call it like a spell. I don't really do spell work, but it's like reminiscent of a spell almost, of like a way to physically cleanse your mind of all the things that are stuck inside of it. It feels like you've got too much going on in your head. And the best bad habit I feel like that you can get rid of is this doom mindset. I feel like you're somebody who maybe you blow certain things out of proportion of like, okay, for an example that's coming to me is like, let's say, and I'm not saying this is you, for it's just an example, but let's say you went to a restaurant and you were talking to the waiter and you accidentally mimicked their accent, because I have accidentally done this and it's the most embarrassing thing. But let's say you accidentally mimicked their accent and then you just like, oh my god, it's so embarrassing. But instead of just being embarrassed and like letting it pass, you go back to your car and it's still stuck in your head, and then you go back to your house and you're like, oh my god, they hate me, they're gonna find my name, they're gonna cancel me on social media. And then across the next week or month, all you can think about is how the whole town knows that I did this thing. Like that's the kind of vibe that I get from your mind, is like blowing things out of proportion, especially if you don't know the truth of what it was. For all you know, that barista or that waiter was so like mentally clocked out that they didn't even realize that you did that. Like it was such a small slip up that like they didn't even know. Or maybe they did hear it, but they're like, that was weird, okay, moving on. But for you, it's like it sticks with you and it burrows, and then it just gets worse and worse and poisons your mind. Low key, girl, or boy, whoever you are, you might want to go to therapy, because it's not normal to be feeling this way. It's especially not any way that anybody wants to live. So if you have the ability to see a therapist, I know it can be very expensive. It's not easy to find the right one. It might be worth it to do that, or look at ways online to deal with the things that you're feeling, because this is something that is not something that you're supposed to bring into the future with you. It's not any way for anybody to live, is constantly being in this mindset. It doesn't seem like a happy way to live. And so a swift departure from that. I feel like for pile 1 and pile 2, all of their cards were kind of coming back to the same root cause, but for you, I feel like you've got 3 separate things going on here. So that's the bad habit to leave behind, is this doom mindset, constantly having things on your mind. You need to find an outlet for it. I think that is the best way that you can get rid of these feelings, is finding an outlet for it. Now, regarding a change that should be made in your life, I feel like this is regarding how you might hold yourself back from doing things that you want, or you hold yourself back from taking concrete action on pursuing certain things that you want. So for example, let's say, I don't know why this is coming to mind, but like, let's say you want to build your own like miniature plane and go into like a plane competition. I don't even know if they have those. They probably do. But like going to a convention for like people that build miniature planes, and like you want to enter your plane into that. And it's like, it's all you can think about is like, oh, I'm going to build mine. I'm going to paint it this way. I'm going to make it like this. But then you never get around to doing it. What you're being asked to make a change in your life is start the movement, start the actual process of moving towards your goals, making it happen little by little. I'm not a therapist or psychiatrist. I can't diagnose you, but the vibe that this is giving me is like ADHD, because I have friends that have ADHD, and like one of the biggest things that happens with that, I think it's called, what's it called? Sorry, I cursed. I don't usually curse on YouTube. What's it called? Something dysfunction. I can't remember the complete word or the term, but it's basically like when you need to get something done, but you physically cannot bring yourself to do it. So you like lay in bed all day, or like you just can't put one foot in front of the other. It's time for you to find a way to work on that. And like I said, I'm not a psychiatrist, and I'm not saying like advocating for you getting on any medication or anything like that, but I do think you need to find a way to get over this, because if you constantly have ideas and things that you want to pursue and then you never let yourself do it, obviously it's time to make a change on that. It's like, you can't just let the convention pass you by and you never built your plane, because then you're just gonna be like all down and you're like, oh, why didn't I ever start on that, or why did I let this thing pass me by? I feel like it's something that internally you want to change, and the only way that you can do it is find a way to change it yourself. I mean, nobody's going to do it for you. I mean, that's kind of like the tough love message, but it's true. Like, anything that you want to do in life, nobody's going to do it for you. You got to find a way to help yourself, even if it feels like it's impossible. Executive dysfunction, that is the word I was looking for. You might want to look into that, because I feel like that might be something that you deal with. But moving on to the final set of cards, this is what good habit should you invite into your life? I don't know your life. This is a general reading, so it's going to be slightly different for everybody. But you might be somebody who is constantly surrounded by others, or even if you're not surrounded by others, you're constantly busy with different kinds of tasks. And what I see in these 2 final cards here, you have Space and the Wheel of Fortune reversed. I feel like you're somebody who you don't really have a concrete plan of what you want your future to look like, or what you want to do for your future. I feel like you're kind of just floating by, or you're just constantly so distracted by other people's voices or like other things that you're doing. You don't really have any time to really sit and think about like, okay, what kind of concrete plan do I need to be making right now in order to get myself to the life that I want to live? And I know that that is a very stressful task, but it doesn't need to look like spending a week away from everybody and like all your plans. What I see here is like you just need to take some time to yourself where you're just thinking about what is my 10-year plan for the future. And I'm not saying everybody needs a 10-year plan. I'm not even saying you need one. But what you do need is an idea of what you want your future to look like and how are you going to get there. And with Space and the Wheel of Fortune reversed, it just makes me think like maybe it's just like 1 hour out of the day, you go to your notes app and you say, okay, what is my goal for this next year, for my career? Or like, let's say you've always wanted to live in Southern California. Like that's your goal. It's like, okay, how am I gonna do that? I need to look at what is the rent of different places, what kind of income do I need to be making, what kinds of jobs will help me make that income, what's the logistics of these things. And it's not about having that mountain of information on you all at once, but like how can I tackle small things at a time? Like start with, okay, this year, how am I gonna elevate myself in my career? From now till the end of 2024, where do I want to be and what steps do I need to be taking right now to get there? I know it's terrifying, but if you have a certain way that you want to live life, you have a certain place that you want to live, if you have an idea of what you want your future to look like I said before, nobody's going to do it for you. And I'm not giving you this like impending sense of doom, like you need to do this or else you're going to fail at life. That's not true. You can do whatever the hell you want in this life. But it's about your own personal desires. If you have an idea of what you want your life to look like, nobody's going to help you achieve that except for you. And so the best way that you could start, I think a good habit is, like I said, maybe take an hour out of each week to kind of plan for the future, figure out what your next steps are in getting towards that goal. So, pile 3, that is everything that I have for you. I hope everything made sense. I hope this brought you some clarity. I hope I didn't terrify you with like any existential dread or stuff like that. I really aim to just help people in these readings, but since they're general and they're so short, it's like I'm trying to jam in as much information at once, but I really don't want to overwhelm you with this. My goal was to hopefully help you get a better picture about the future, and at the end of the day, this is just supposed to be recommendations of what stuff to leave behind in the past and what stuff to bring in the future. And I really do encourage you to maybe speak to a therapist, speak to a professional, because if you're constantly dealing with these feelings inside, everybody needs help now and again. I personally have been to multiple therapists over my lifetime, and I never found a perfect one, but it's still worth looking, at least to just speak what's on your mind. So, pile 3, that is everything that I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.